Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Today we have with us another fascinating guest. This is a leader in the medical sales space, but what makes his career track really interesting is the focus he decided to take on when he went to get his master's. We have with us today Jeff Barnard. He's the U.S. Area Vice President for the LiDCO Group. They specialize in hemodynamic monitoring equipment. And, Jeff's actually had a long career in medical sales, but his focus and his specialty is positive psychology. He's actually studied it as an advanced degree, and he's a positive psychology coach. I'm a big fan of professional development. I'm an even bigger fan of personal development. So I think understanding something like positive psychology can be useful and beneficial to just about anyone. And today we're going to get into it with Jeff and talk about how he's utilized it in his career as a leader and even in his personal life. So again, thank you for listening to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I really hope you enjoy this interview. Hey, Jeff, how are you today?
Hey, Simon, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Another day in 2021. I can't believe we're already here.
I know, it seems like we're off to a good start too.
Right, 2020 has officially turned 21. So today we have with us Jeff Barnard. He is coming from the LiDCO Group, and he is the U.S. Area Vice President. So before I do any butchering, let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Yeah, no, I am, Jeff. My name's Jeff. I've been in the medical device industry for about 17 years. I started in the early 2000s, and when I originally got into it, I was focused on areas of the human body and the lungs and respiratory, which moved into the OR and became focused on the brain, and then moved into the heart. And right now I'm with a very small company. We're hemodynamic monitoring, and out on the West Coast, and I'm trying to take market share from the market leaders.
Market share from the market leaders. One of the reasons why I loved you on the show, Jeff, is because Jeff actually has a level of training that I'm a big fan of in the personal development space. And it's enhanced the way he's been able to not only develop his own career, but lead others. So again, I'm not going to go on and on about that. Jeff, tell us a little bit about that part of your training, and then take us back to what got you into the industry.
Yeah, well, so when you have a team, I became interested in the psychology about how people accomplish goals, how they relate to each other, how they communicate. And I wanted to know more about it. So just recently I went back to school. I'm going part-time, and I selected a university that had a unique combination of two ideas. So there's a positive psychology, and then there's coaching psychology. So really briefly, positive psychology is the scientific study on what makes people flourish and prosper. And one of the crutch of that, it's scientifically based, double-blind studies. And one of the methods that sort of facilitates this is called positive psychology interventions. They're called PPIs. Now, some of the ubiquitous ones, as you probably know, of exercise, and here recently mindfulness, and mindfulness meditation.
Right.
And coaching psychology is the way that you communicate and facilitate a conversation to help somebody accomplish their goals. It's a goal-directed conversation. So the university I'm going to, University of East London, was the first in the world to sort of combine these two, positive psychology, and then a way of sort of the vehicle of delivering that is coaching psychology. So they're sort of coming away, to a way to sort of merge these two ideas. And there's a couple of concepts I can get into if you wanted me to.
So tell us a little bit then, how does that play into what you do as a leader? I mean, okay, so we understand that coaching is helping, is coaching someone towards accomplishing their goals, but how does that look any different than just, coming up with a business plan and going after your goals on it every day?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a I guess it would be a humanistic or holistic perspective when you're working with people. I think one of the theories I'll point out is the PERMA model. So Martin Seligman, early in like 1998. So positive psychology has only been around for about 21 years. And the PERMA model is sort of a humanistic focused perspective to help somebody achieve their goals, have more well-being. And PERMA is an acronym. So P stands for positive emotions, E stands for engagement, R stands for relationships, and M stands for meaning, and A stands for accomplishment. Now, if you look through this from a sales leadership perspective, a frontline sales leader, if you take, say, positive emotions, anybody that's been in medical device sales, it's a roller coaster ride, especially if you're selling an enterprise product.
Right.
You're touching so many different areas in the hospital. I mean, you have one conversation with the doc and he loves your technology, and you walk away and you're feeling all these positive emotions, right? And then you have another discussion with maybe some lady on value analysis committee that could care less and has a really tight relationship with your competitor. And as far as she's concerned, she'd like to just walk outside the hospital, just go and leave. So this roller coaster ride, I think it's really, really important to sort of stabilize that, and you can help your team. Just one PPI that I think I would mention in regards to this is it's pretty well researched. It's called the 3 good things. So at the end of the day, you write down 3 good things that happened, and you explain, you write down why they were good. And not only is that shown to increase positive effect that day and the next day, and this is only like a 7 day, you do it for 1 week, it's been shown to elevate your positive affect several months later. So that's just one idea on how PPI could fit into maybe sort of the PERMA model. And as I mentioned those, I'm sure that any sales leader think, okay, yeah, relationships important. I mean, because besides your frontline manager and the relationships you have externally, is anyone else in the company concerned with your progress and your accomplishment, your goal? I mean, do you have a mentor besides your frontline manager? When you're in the field, you're somewhat on an island a lot of times. Do you have somebody you can call and maybe vent or get some feedback, or, say, hey, I'm thinking of this approach. I'm thinking of this next meeting that I have. This is a situation what I'm going to go through. Do you have anybody outside of your frontline manager that you can talk to and have relationships? All of these things are really important, not only for your well-being, but for accomplishment, exceeding your goals.
Yeah. So, I mean, would you say, one theory I've heard a lot about is, operating from this excited space. Yeah, you're going to be so much more productive. You're going to be so much more effective, and you're going to feel better doing it if you're operating from an excited space, like from this real excited space that keeps you creative. It keeps you flowing, almost like you're in flow. Would you say that positive psychology kind of plays into doing everything, utilizing every tool available to keep you in this excited space, or is it not? Is that something else?
No, actually, you hit on 2 things that you sort of nailed a couple of things. Fredrickson came up with a theory called broaden and build. And essentially, if you have positive emotions, that positive emotions creates an area where you're more creative. If you're feeling positive emotions, you're more creative. And then the more positive emotions you have, you can actually gain another level of state and positive emotions. So it sort of builds on itself. So that's one. And then another one you mentioned is really, really interesting. And it's another theory called flow. And I think other people outside, specifically in athletics, you're in the zone, right?
Right.
Time just slows down. Everything changes. You feel like you're outside of body experience. Research done on that as well. So they found it's actually interesting, only about 10 to 15% of us in America during our work life happen to get into a flow state.
Wow.
Which is so small. And the way that you can sort of manipulate these things is one, let's say your skills, flow happens when your skills and the challenge are balanced, right? Your skills are just enough for the challenge. Now, if the challenge isn't good enough, isn't challenging enough, boredom sets in. And if your skills aren't up to the level to what the challenge is, then you're overwhelmed. So you can think that that's a coaching opportunity right there, because if your employees are talking, telling you, hey man, I feel overwhelmed, then you sort of know what's going on. Or, if they're not engaged, which flow is one of the keys to engagement, maybe they're not challenged enough. Maybe they need more challenge.
Sure. So, I got to ask you, Jeff, have you felt ever in flow in working as a medical device sales professional?
Yeah, there are times, and this was before I knew what the concept was and how to sort of align things. I think, like for example, if you're cold calling and you're on the phone and you have a whole list of, if you can organize it where you just sort of get in a rhythm and you have some sort of, instead of having everything splattered, I guess you'd be more organized.
Sure.
So you can get into more of a rhythm.
Sure. So, okay, but let's describe that a little bit more. I mean, basically what I'm getting at is, if you're an athlete, and a lot of medical sales reps have been athletes, right, across the medical sales space. But if you're an athlete and your challenge, your skills have met the challenge, you feel that flow, right? You're the point guard, and you're typically a scorer, but this game you just can't miss. I mean, you feel it. Everything you've been practicing is just through the ball, all the way to the ball leaving your fingertips. What's going in. Things are happening. You're in flow. As a professional in the field, how would you describe what that feels like?
I think to your first point, unfortunately, we can't get into flow anytime we want to. It's, it's sort of chasing it, but there's some things that we can do to try to make that happen more often than not. But what flow feels like to me in sales is they are, authentic conversations and presentations. So I've experienced that a lot during presentations where you get up there and things are just going really well. You feel like you're saying the right thing. Your customers are listening to you. They're asking the right questions. You're giving the right answers. Everything's going really, really smooth.
Yeah.
And it seems like, wow, you walk out of the meeting and it wasn't that long of a meeting. Yes, it was.
Right.
And you just want every single meeting and presentation to be like that.
Yeah.
And another way I think you could sort of leverage that too is another theory are strengths. Right? If you've been fortunate enough or lucky enough to be in a company that has ever made you take a strengths assessment, I would pay attention. You really, really want to know what your strengths are. And unfortunately, strengths are sort of blinded to us. When we judge other people and we say, oh man, they should be doing it like that, that's somewhat of an indication that might be one of your strengths, because that's the way that you view through the world. You view other people that they should have those kind of strengths. Now, a strength is just a strength. It's not a talent yet unless you develop it. For example, if we took a basketball example, if you were really good at shooting the ball, maybe you could be a really good three-point shooter. And then it's up to your coach to put you in those positions. If you're a really good three-point shooter, you don't really want to waste your time or spend time trying to dribble drive or post up. You want to maximize your strength. So the more that you utilize your strengths during the day, the better you feel, the more engaged you feel, better chance you have of getting into flow. The same thing, let's say we all have parts of our job that we just don't like. It's like, oh, God, maybe it's the least amount that we like, right? That's another opportunity to use your strength. So for example, let's say you didn't like doing paperwork, but one of your strengths was love of learning. How can you utilize that strength while you're doing your paperwork? That's going to make you more engaged while you're doing that, and it's going to make you, it's going to fly by faster. You're going to get closer to a state where, okay, this is not so bad because I'm actually using a strength.
Okay. So hold on. So to step into that, what kind of self-talk has to go on to step into, I hate this assignment. I really don't want to do this, but I'm now going to use my strength of the love of learning to knock it out.
I think it starts with awareness. You already have to do it as part of your job.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know what you're good at, then you can leverage what you're good at and reframe it in a way where, okay, now I'm going to do what I've been doing as part of my job, but now I'm going to utilize my strengths when I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. You're going to be more engaged. It's going to be easier to do. It's a very interesting PPI. It's called using your strengths in new ways.
Right. So is this what you would say, positive psychology helps you build the tools to get to this flow as often as you can?
That's just one of the many. I mean, there's so many different PPIs, and that's just the mode of delivery, but the whole purpose is trying to flourish, right? It's not necessarily the absence of anxiety or stress that makes, life worth living. It's what's beyond that, maximizing what you have, accomplishing your goals, being productive, having more experience with positive emotions, having better relationships, meaning, I think leaders from time to time need to realize that we get stuck in the minutia of the day-to-day activities, and we lose sight of the overall meaning. If you're selling a product it's helping somebody. It's helping the doctor perform the surgery. It's helping the patient improve outcomes, but you're so focused on trying to hit a number and get some sales, maybe taking a step back and say, what are we doing? Right. Look how many people that we're helping. Look how many patients that we're helping, providing some sort of meaning from time to time.
Right. No, I get that. That makes perfect sense. Well, now I'm sure everybody wants to kind of know a little bit more about how you got to where you are, Jeff. So, in a nutshell, what got you into medical sales? Like, why did you even get into medical sales out of college?
Well, I realized in the later part of my undergrad degree that I was a people person. I like talking to people. I like getting to know people. And I was aware that sales was one way that you could do that, and you could make some pretty darn good money. Yeah. So after pinging my network in the industry and finding out, what's the best, after messing around with B2B sales for a while, one of my good college buddies said medical sales is where you need to be. Mm-hmm. And I did a shadow right along with him. He brought me into an OR, and there was, they were opening up I think it was a heart surgery, and I could smell burnt hair, and I was like hooked from the very beginning.
Right, that's
like,
it. This is what I'm doing.
This is awesome. This is where I want to be.
Right.
Super cool.
Right. That is cool. And then you had a pretty long career with Medtronic for a little while, as a capital account executive. Tell us a little bit about that experience. I mean, what was that like for you?
Well, when you work for a large company that I have, and I started out working for that large company, they're always trying to optimize and maximize. So they're changing their go-to-market model. And so I guess my story would be more one of survive in advance. I think when I was with Medtronic, I was there about 14 years. I had 7 different managers. Mm-hmm. It seemed like every 2 years that we were making a change, adding new products, more acquisitions. So we're always streamlining and adjusting that. So it was an awesome opportunity because you're in a situation that's dynamic. It's ever changing. You're getting new products to sell. You're selling to new customers. You're selling to new call points. Just on and on and on. So, I mean, in a very short 14 years, I think is pretty short time. At least it felt like it's a short time. But I got a chance to call on almost every type of physician in the hospital and every type of different call point, from ED to ICU to OR to pulmonologist, intensivist, anesthesiologist. And then, going through the process of committee meetings and presentations. It's not, the products that I have sold to date don't hinge on one person. There's a collective of everyone that has to decide whether they want to bring it in. There could be one doctor that really, really wants it, but he's got to approve it through the entire facility to get it in.
Sure. So you spent a lot of time actually not talking to the doctor, but talking to everyone else.
So I took the doctor and then making sure that that doctor helped you out in the process. And I think ultimately you want to find out there's a group of people behind a door that's going to make the decision. How many people can I learn that's behind that door? And then how many people can I get in front of? So when they do have that meeting about my product, I've touched most of those people. Most of those people have a confidence and trust that then when they communicate, there's no outlier in the room that I didn't talk to, and that might have a negative toward the product. Prevent it from going forward.
Right. That makes perfect sense. Okay, and then from Medtronic, you went into LiDCO. So, what prompted that move?
Yeah, so it was an opportunity to. Actually, what was interesting is LiDCO was a part of Medtronic at one point in time. And so before I became a capital account executive, I was selling that product for maybe about a year. They divested that product, so LiDCO became its own small company again. And it was one of the favorite products that I've ever sold. I kept in contact with, build. Not only is it important to build relationships, but you have to maintain relationships. You'll never know when they'll come handy or help you with your growth and your goals and aspirations. So, hey, I had the opportunity to go to LiDCO, start a business pretty much from scratch on the West Coast and start to develop my own team, and build that. We've been so successful in a very short period of time. We were just recently actually acquired.
Nice. Why did you enjoy, why was it your favorite product?
It was hemodynamics. And at the time, hemodynamics was new to me. It was about the heart, how the heart pumps blood, and there's so many different variables, and how that how that amazing device moves blood around the body to make sure everything's perfused. So, you're not supposed to say this. If you have 3 kids, you love them all the same. I had a favorite. I put my arms around it and really, really dived into the hemodynamics and how it worked. So when there was an opportunity to focus on growing that market share with that product, I would recommend that to people that are getting into the industry, or if they've been there for a while. What part of the body interests you the most? What are you most inspired about? If you were sitting around with some friends having a glass of wine on a Saturday, and the topic came up, what interests you? If you have that sort of passion from the get-go, then it's going to be easy for you to be more engaged, more successful, more prosperous. Pick a body part.
Pick a body part. That's excellent. So, that actually brings me to my next question. How do you take care of yourself to maintain being able to have the career you have and do everything you do? I'm sure the audience wants to understand what your life dynamics look like as much as you can share. And then how do you manage it all, and how do you consistently take care of yourself?
That's an interesting, really good question. And I just became aware of this probably 3 or 4 years ago. I guess one way that you could describe it as self-care. I really talk about it, the importance of developing a morning routine. How do you start your day? You have control over that. Before the sun rises, once the day starts, you can get pulled in so many different directions. It's somewhat out of your control. You need to prioritize and execute, but you're getting pulled in many different directions. And then you can end the day it's under your control. So there's a couple of things that are just important to me. And how I start my day is I want some silence. I meditate. I want to get centered. I also exercise. I got to knock that out. 30 minutes a day. If the day goes by and I don't get that done, if your energy levels decrease a little bit as the day goes along. And then, eating right. So important. What you put into your body is what your body uses as fuel.
Right.
If you can do, and sleep, I don't think we talk about sleep enough as well. You need to get your, whatever you function well on. It could be 8 hours, it could be 7 hours. And you have a chance to experiment with this every single day. Figure out what your optimum sleep is, and then make that a priority. I think that's one of the major crutches of well-being. And if you're tired, you can't think, you run down, you don't have the energy. And listen, hey, sales and medical device is an energy business.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend anyone to really, really look at their environment, and anything that is sucking energy away from them, remove it. Whether it's people, whether it's your activities or what you eat, lack of exercise, you name it, you need energy throughout the day. And, hold on to that. Hold on to that idea. Protect it too.
That's actually interesting, and I like when you said you need energy, and you also mentioned whether it's people. So what if some of your own personal family dynamics, you got some difficult people in your life that you kind of have to deal with on a regular basis? How do you manage keeping that energy and being able to maintain being effective in light of those relationships that you can't necessarily just run away from?
Yeah, great point. I was thinking more of the from a peer example. It's very important, I think, to manage your life from the inside out. Starting with your thoughts, uncomfortable emotions, learning to be comfortable with uncomfortable emotions, your family dynamics, relationships with your kids, your wife, and you have tons of influence in that sort of arena. Once you get out, if you're at a national sales meeting and a group of people are complaining about the company or they're complaining about the product, that's energy sucking to me. Yeah. If I'm around that, that's bringing me down. That's demotivating. I don't want a part of it. And then you can easily, dab your way out of that and just say, oh, I got to do something else, or
right.
I'm not really interested in this discussion. And you surround yourself with people that are motivated, positive, and bring energy. Protect that. It's important.
I like it. Okay. With all that being said, give us your specific morning routine, and all the way down to the time you wake up.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I've been working on this for a while. So it's really pretty detailed. So the first thing I do is I'll take a big glass of water and put a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it. I want to alkalize my body and just get that right. And then I will.
What time are we up?
5:30.
5.
Sometimes 5. Yeah. So I wake up with a big glass of water with a little apple cider vinegar. I sit down and I meditate for about 15 minutes. I grab a book and I read that book for 30 minutes. Big reader. If you take that, if you took let's say a book that's about 220 pages and you only read about for 10 minutes a day, you'd read about 20 to 23 books a year. So love reading. I'll read for a little bit. Then after that, I'll write. Sometimes it's goals. Sometimes it's a stream of conscious writing. Just trying to get my thoughts and ideas on paper. And then after that, I'll do a 30-minute exercise. I think what's important about that, a couple of tips I'll give on exercise is you don't want to have it too routine where you get bored and it becomes monotonous. You end up not doing it, and then next thing you're not exercising. Variety is key. I'll run about 2 to 3 times a week. I lift weights about 2 times a week. I'll fit in 1 yoga session a week, and then I take a day off. And I mix that up. And then sometimes it might be tennis in the evening with some friends, or basketball. I was in a league for a while, pre-COVID. So that sets me up because those things center me. They give me some new knowledge and information. They help me clear my brain, get some ideas out on paper. And I get exercise, get my heart rate up. All those things I just knocked out, and it's not even like 7 o'clock yet.
Nice.
What I needed to do for myself is done. Now I can focus on my family.
Yeah.
In the morning before I take off, and then I can go to work and focused on work all day long. And then I wrap it up by the end of the day by, family, and then maybe journaling a little bit toward the end of the day.
Got it.
At night before I go to bed.
That's good. That's excellent. One question I had, Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yep.
Is that something that often comes up in your training right now with positive psychology?
Yeah, it actually has come up a couple of times. I think I think the last step on that rung, which
self-actualization.
Yep. I almost think that it's not about the self when you get to that point. And that's almost, I guess, how I feel where I am in my stage, not only in my life, but in my career, is maybe self-actualization comes by helping other people, helping other people get into the medical device industry, or once they're there, becoming successful or being a good leader. Focusing your efforts and concentration on helping others maybe provides that self-actualization that you need. Maybe self isn't the right word for it.
So attaining or reaching self-actualization, you're saying it's when you get to this level where you're not even thinking about yourself very often, and your existence is based on what you're doing for other people.
Yeah. Maybe, and then this is just my idea. Maybe self-actualization is a byproduct of helping others.
Got it. I see. So focus on helping others, and you'll climb right up that Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Because when you help others, the relationships come easy.
Yeah. Get it.
And the more that you're in a situation in the medical device industry, and the more people that you'll come to a place that you'll always have somebody call. You always have a potential job opportunity. People will always be reaching out to you. They'll be easier to climb the corporate ladder. It'll be easier to just live your medical sales life the right way.
Got it. Well, Jeff, on that note, thank you so much for spending time with us. It was great to hear from you. We look forward to hearing more about your future and everything that brings with everything you're learning and the leadership you continue to exhibit. And thanks again for being on the show.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Samuel. I just truly enjoyed this. I really, really think you're doing a great thing, helping people get into the industry. It's a wonderful industry.
Appreciate it.
You're the man, and keep it going, man.
Definitely.
It's awesome.
Definitely. Okay. Self-actualization. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I remember learning about that way back when in college. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I ever understood what the self-actualization part really meant. I get the latter. I know, of course, your physiological needs, right? Food, water, warmth. Then your safety needs, security and safety, and that feeling, not just physically, but with your circles of influence as well, the people around you. Belongingness and your love needs, right? Your intimate relationships and your friends. Again, the people around you. Your esteem needs, so prestige and feeling of accomplishment. Now, here's where I think a lot of people spend the most time: prestige and feeling of accomplishment. Really trying to be the best in your career, in your field, or be the number one service in your business. Really trying to get to that level of accomplishment. But achieving one's full potential, including creative activities, the self-actualization, I'm still not sure if that's just completely up to someone to declare, or if there's something that they demonstrate that allows, I don't know, maybe a positive psychology expert to say, you know what, that person is approaching self-actualization. And I honestly don't know. In fact, if anyone out there believes they know and can explain what it is to reach it, please feel free to go to our website and leave us a message and let us know what you think, or even send me an email at samuel@evolveyoursuccess.com. But one thing that I do know, and I'm sure all of you feel and believe, is that as long as we're alive and breathing and well, why not do what we can to get to the next level? Whether it's in our personal lives or professional lives, why not get to that next level? And one thing that we do here at Evolve Your Success is we help professionals get to that next level. Whether they want to get into the industry, of medical devices or pharmaceutical sales or genetic testing sales or biotech sales, or whether they're trying to advance their career as a sales professional, whether it be a team we're working with or an individual that's trying to really get their performance to a higher level. If you're interested in any of those programs or you want to see how we do it and how we can help you, then you need to make sure you visit me on LinkedIn at Samuel Adeyinka, or go ahead and send me an email at samuel@evolveyoursuccess.com, or visit our website, evolveyoursuccess.com. As always, I'm so thankful to all of you listeners out there that take the time to listen to the value that we provide here on the Medical Sales Podcast. And we do everything we can to bring you amazing guests that give you some serious insights into what you can do with your careers and where you can take things. So please be back next week for another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast, and thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry, become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.